The stars looked different from here. Ambassador Jake Murphy pressed his face against the cold window of the transport ship Aurora's Dream and watched the massive space station grow larger ahead of them. The station spun slowly in the darkness, its metal surface covered with lights from a dozen different alien races. This was it, the moment humanity had been waiting for since they first looked up at the night sky. "Sir, we'll be docking in 10 minutes, Captain Ryan Torres said from behind him. The captain was a steady man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had flown cargo ships between Earth's colonies for 20 years before getting this assignment. "The crew is ready." Jake nodded and straightened his blue diplomatic uniform. At 42, he had spent most of his adult life preparing for this day. He had studied alien languages, customs, and history. He had practiced diplomatic protocols until he could recite them in his sleep. But nothing could really prepare someone for meeting beings from other worlds. "How many species will be there?" asked Dr. Lisa Carter, the expedition's lead scientist. She was younger than Jake, with short brown hair and bright green eyes that always seemed to be studying something. Her job was to help everyone understand the aliens they would meet. 7 confirmed, Jake replied. The Zephyrians, Vorthak, Netherlings, and 4 others. Each one completely different from us. The docking process took another hour. The human ship had to go through 3 different scanning procedures. The aliens wanted to make sure the humans weren't bringing any dangerous diseases or weapons. Jake understood their caution. Humans were new to this galactic community. Every other race had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. When the airlock finally opened, Jake got his first look at real aliens. The corridor beyond was filled with creatures that looked like they came from strange dreams. Some floated in the air like living clouds. Others walked on 6 legs with bodies covered in shiny scales. One group looked like walking crystals that hummed softly as they moved. A tall figure approached them. It had 4 arms, large black eyes, and skin that changed colors as it moved. This was Counselor Zethra of the Zephyrians. Jake had studied videos of this species, but seeing one in person was completely different. "Welcome, humans," Zethra said in perfect English. The translator device around its neck changed the alien clicks and whistles into words Jake could understand. "We are honored to finally meet you." "Thank you, Counselor," Jake replied with a formal bow. "We're grateful for this opportunity." The group moved through corridors filled with wonders. The walls showed pictures that moved and changed. Gravity seemed to work differently in some sections. Plants grew in impossible spirals, and the air smelled like flowers Jake had never imagined. The main meeting hall was enormous. Representatives from 7 different species sat around a circular table that seemed to be made from a single piece of black stone. Each alien had brought their own atmosphere bubble or breathing device. The humans wore simple oxygen masks that let them breathe the station's air mixture. "Please sit," said a voice that sounded like wind chimes. This came from Resonance Prime Kolthan, one of the crystal beings called Vorthak. When it spoke, colors flowed through its body like aurora, lights. "We have much to discuss." The first few hours went well. The aliens asked about Earth, human technology, and their government systems. Jake answered carefully, trying to present humanity in the best possible light. They talked about trade agreements, shared research, and cultural exchange programs. Dr. Carter explained human science and medicine. The aliens seemed impressed by human adaptability and problem-solving skills. They were particularly interested in how humans had survived on a planet with such dangerous weather and predators. Your world sounds challenging, noted Ambassador. Veltar of the Netherlings, this being looked like a cloud of purple gas held together by some invisible force. Most species evolve on more stable planets. Earth made us tough, Captain Torres said with a smile. We had to be creative to survive. As the day continued, the conversation became more relaxed. The aliens began asking about human culture, art, and daily life. They wanted to know about human families, entertainment, and social customs. We find cultural exchange fascinating, Zethra said, its skin shifting to warm orange colors. Each species brings unique perspectives to our community. What about companion relationships? Asked another Zephyrian delegate. We understand humans form bonds with other species. Jake felt a small warning in his mind, but he pushed it aside. Yes, many humans keep pets. Animal companions are very important to our culture. The aliens leaned forward with interest. The Vorthak began humming in harmony, which Jake had learned meant they were excited. The Netherlings swirled faster in their containment fields. Fascinating. Zethra's eyes grew even larger. We would be most honored to observe this practice. In our culture, we also maintain relationships with smaller life forms. Dr. Carter tried to speak up. Well, you should understand that human pets are somewhat different. Oh, we are familiar with companion species, interrupted Colthon. The crystal being's voice rang like bells. We harmonize with singing stone moss, very peaceful creatures. And we tend floating spore gardens, added Veltar. They require constant care but bring much joy. Jake realized that each alien species was describing their version of pets. But something felt wrong about this conversation. The way they talked about their companions made them sound very small and fragile. Perhaps we could arrange a demonstration, Zethra suggested. We would be delighted to see how humans interact with their companion species. I'm not sure that's, Dr. Carter began. What a wonderful idea. Colthan interrupted again. Cultural exchange at its finest. We have prepared suitable observation facilities. Jake looked at Captain Torres, who shrugged. Several crew members had brought their pets on the long journey from Earth. It seemed like a harmless request, maybe even a good way to show the peaceful side of human nature. Very well, Jake agreed. We can arrange something tomorrow. The aliens buzzed with excitement. Zethra's skin flashed bright yellow, and the Vorthak hummed a complex melody. Even, the usually quiet species began chattering among themselves. As the meeting ended and the humans returned to their quarters, Dr. Carter grabbed Jake's arm. Ambassador, I think we need to be more specific about what we're going to show them. She said quietly. Why? It's just pets. What could go wrong? Dr. Carter looked worried, but she didn't have a good answer. How could she explain that human pets might be very different from alien companions? The request had seemed so innocent. None of them realized they had just agreed to something that would change everything. The next morning came too quickly for Dr. Lisa Carter. She had spent most of the night reading files about alien companion species, and what she found made her stomach twist with worry. Every single alien race kept creatures that were tiny, gentle, and completely harmless. She hurried to the human quarters where Ambassador Jake Murphy was having breakfast with Captain Torres. Both men looked relaxed and confident, which only made Lisa more nervous. We need to talk about today's demonstration, she said, sitting down at their table. I've been researching alien pets, and I think we have a serious problem. Jake looked up from his coffee. What kind of problem? Lisa pulled out her tablet and showed them pictures. Look at this. Zephyrian moss gardens are about the size of a dinner plate. They just sit there and glow softly. Vorthak singing crystals are smaller than your thumb. Netherling spore colonies float around like soap bubbles. So? Captain Torres asked. So their biggest pet is about as large as a hamster, Lisa said. And they're all completely peaceful. They don't have teeth, claws, or any way to hurt anything. Jake frowned. Are you saying our pets are too big? I'm saying our pets are probably going to terrify them, Lisa replied. Think about it. What did Alex bring on this trip? Captain Torres suddenly looked less confident. Rex. Exactly. Rex. Lisa showed them a picture on her tablet. A 180-pound German shepherd with teeth that can crack bones. The three humans stared at the image. Rex was a beautiful dog with thick fur, alert ears, and intelligent amber eyes. He was also large, powerful, and bred from thousands of years of wolf genetics. To humans, he was a loyal companion. To aliens, who had never seen anything bigger than a mouse, he would look like a monster. Maybe we should use someone else's pet, Jake suggested. Doesn't Lieutenant Brown have a cat? Whiskers died 2 months ago, Torres said sadly. And Sergeant Collins. Rabbit got sick during the journey. Rex is the only pet we have left. Lisa felt the weight of the situation settling on her shoulders. We could try to explain the difference first. Maybe show them pictures and prepare them. The aliens specifically asked for a demonstration, Jake reminded her. They want to see human-pet interaction in person. If we just show pictures, they might think we're hiding something. A soft chime indicated someone was at their door. Torres opened it to find Counselor Zethra standing in the hallway. The alien's skin was bright, blue with excitement, and all 4 arms gestured rapidly. Good morning, friends, Zethra said cheerfully. We are most eager for today's cultural exchange. My colleagues have been discussing it all night. About that, Lisa began. We should probably explain some differences between human and alien companion species. Oh, there is no need, Zethra replied, waving one hand dismissively. We understand companion relationships very well. All civilized species maintain such bonds. The alien pulled out a small device and activated a holographic display. Images appeared in the air showing various alien creatures. Lisa saw the tiny moss gardens, floating spores, and crystalline formations she had read about. As you can see, we each have our cherished companions, Zethra continued proudly. Resonance Prime Colthan's singing crystals create the most beautiful music. Ambassador Veltar's spore garden produces delightful fragrances. We are excited to see what wonderful creatures humans have chosen to befriend. Jake and Torres exchanged worried glances. Lisa tried one more time. Counselor, human companions are somewhat larger than... Size matters not, Zethra interrupted happily. Love and care are universal concepts. We have prepared a special observation chamber with the finest viewing equipment. All 7 species will attend. It will be a celebration of intergalactic friendship. Before any of the humans could object, Zethra continued talking. We have also invited several junior diplomats and cultural students. This will be an educational experience for many young beings. Some have never seen alien companion species before. Lisa felt her heart sink. Not only would they be showing Rex to experienced diplomats, but to young aliens who would be even more frightened. The observation chamber has been specially prepared, Zethra went on. We installed additional safety barriers made of the strongest transparent aluminum, just in case your companion is... energetic. Safety barriers? Torres asked. Oh, yes. We learned from the Grolex incident 3 years ago. Their companion creatures were quite active and nearly escaped their containment. Though I suppose escaped is not the right word since they were only small flying insects. But still, precautions are wise. The alien seemed to realize it was talking too much and paused. But surely human companions are more docile. Your species seems so civilized. Jake opened his mouth to answer, but Zethra was already moving toward the door. We will gather in Observation Chamber 7 at midday. Please bring your companion, creature, and any care equipment it requires. Perhaps some of its favorite food? Food, Lisa squeaked. Yes, we would love to see feeding behaviors. Most fascinating aspect of companion care. Colthon's crystals feed on harmonic vibrations. Veltars. Spores consume microscopic nutrients from the air. What do human companions eat? The three humans stared at each other. They were thinking about Rex's usual diet of high-protein dog food, raw bones, and the occasional treat. How could they explain that their companion was a carnivore who could hunt and kill prey animals? We'll figure something out, Jake said weakly. Excellent. Zethra's skin flashed rainbow colors with joy. Until midday, friends. The alien left, practically bouncing with excitement. The humans sat in silence for several minutes. We're in trouble, Torres finally said. Maybe Rex will be calm, Jake suggested hopefully. He's a good dog, well-trained, Lisa shook her head. That's exactly the problem. Rex being obedient will make it worse. When they see a massive predator following human commands perfectly, they'll realize we've somehow tamed a monster. It'll terrify them even more. So what do we do? Torres asked. Lisa thought for a moment. We could fake an emergency. Say Rex got sick. Postpone the demonstration. That would just delay the problem, Jake pointed out. And it might damage our credibility. Or, Torres said slowly, we could trust that these aliens are intelligent beings who can handle a little surprise. Lisa looked at him incredulously. A little surprise? Rex weighs more than some of their entire species. His bark alone could probably shatter Colton's crystal body. Jake stood up and began pacing. We've committed to this demonstration. Backing out now would look bad. Maybe we can control the situation. Keep Rex calm. Explain everything carefully. And if the aliens panic? Lisa asked. Then we deal with that problem when it happens, Jake replied. We're diplomats. We're supposed to handle unexpected situations. Torres nodded in agreement. I'll talk to Alex. Make sure he knows to keep Rex on a short leash and follow commands exactly. As the two men made plans, Lisa stared at the pictures of alien companions on her tablet. Tiny, peaceful creatures that wouldn't hurt a flower. In a few hours, they would meet Rex. She had a terrible feeling this cultural exchange was about to become a disaster. Word spread quickly through the space station. By late morning, beings from all 7 species were talking excitedly about the human companion demonstration. Security Chief Maria Santos watched the growing crowd through the station's security cameras and felt increasingly uncomfortable. This is getting out of hand, she told Jake Murphy as they walked toward Observation Chamber 7. We've got twice as many aliens as originally planned. Some brought their own companions for comparison. Jake wiped sweat from his forehead. The closer they got to the demonstration time, the more nervous he became. Any chance we could move this to a smaller room? Too late. Counselor Zethra already announced it as a major cultural event. Half the station wants to watch. They reached the observation chamber and Jake's nervousness doubled. The room was enormous, with stadium-style seating arranged around a central area. Transparent aluminum walls separated the viewing area from the demonstration space. The barriers looked strong enough to contain a small explosion. Aliens were already filling the seats. Jake recognized delegates from all 7 species. But there were many more beings he had never seen before. Young aliens clustered together, pointing at the empty demonstration area and chittering with excitement. Dr. Lisa Carter joined them, carrying a tablet loaded with information about Earth animals. "I've prepared a presentation about human evolution and domestication," she said. "Maybe if I explain the science first, it will help." "Good idea," Jake agreed, though he wondered if science would make any difference once the aliens saw Rex's counselor. Zethra approached them, practically glowing with anticipation. The alien's skin shifted through rainbow patterns, and all 4 arms gestured rapidly. "What a wonderful turnout. Even Ambassador Tocqueville from the hegemony has come to observe." Jake looked where Zethra pointed and saw a massive creature that looked like a cross between a turtle and an elephant. Its eyes were ancient and intelligent, and it moved with slow dignity. If that being decided humans were dangerous, it could influence dozens of other species. "We have also prepared refreshments for your companion," Zethra continued, pulling out a small container. "Crystallized nutrients and purified water, the finest quality available." Lisa looked at the container and winced. It held tiny, colorful crystals that looked like candy. Rex would probably sniff them once and ignore them completely. "That's very thoughtful," Jake said carefully. "But human companions have specialized diets." "Of course. All companions have preferences. Resonance Prime Colthon's crystals only consume harmonic vibrations in the blue spectrum. Very particular creatures." As if summoned by its name, Colthon approached their group. The crystal being hummed softly, and colors flowed through its transparent body like liquid light. In one appendage, it carried a small box containing what looked like tiny singing gems. "I brought my harmony crystals for comparison," Colthon announced. Its voice rang like wind chimes. "They are eager to meet your companion species. Perhaps they will create beautiful music together." Jake tried to imagine Rex's reaction to tiny singing crystals. The dog would probably try to sniff them, which alone would terrify the delicate creatures. "Human companions are different," Lisa tried to explain. "They don't interact the same way as crystal formations." "Ah, but music is universal," Colthon replied cheerfully. "All living things respond to harmony. I am sure your companion will appreciate my crystal songs." More aliens continued arriving. Ambassador Veltar floated over in its containment suit, followed by a cloud of tiny spores that sparkled like glitter. The Grolex delegation brought something that looked like a swarm of fireflies in a glass sphere. Even species Jake hadn't met yet were showing up with their own miniature companions. "This is turning into a pet show," Maria Santos muttered. "Except everyone else brought toys and we're bringing a wolf." "Rex isn't a wolf," Jake protested weakly. "Tell that to them," Maria replied, pointing at the aliens. "Look how excited they are. They have no idea what's coming." Jake watched the gathering crowd and felt his stomach tighten. Young Zephyrian students pressed against the viewing barriers, their large eyes bright with curiosity. A group of elderly Netherlings had formed a discussion circle, apparently debating companion care techniques. Everyone seemed absolutely delighted about this cultural exchange. "Where is Sergeant Hayes?" Zethra asked, looking around. "We are eager to meet him and his companion." "He's preparing," Jake answered. That was true. though he didn't mention that Alex was probably trying to tire Rex out with exercise, hoping to make the dog as calm as possible. "Preparation is wise," agreed a new voice. Ambassador Mordak of the Silicon Collective had joined them. This being looked like a walking metal sculpture with glowing circuits for eyes. "My data crystals require precise calibration before social interaction." "Data crystals?" Lisa asked. "My companion species," Mordak explained proudly. "Artificially, intelligent memory storage units. They process information and provide companionship through data exchange." Jake realized that even the artificial beings had tiny, harmless companions. Every single alien species had chosen creatures that were small, peaceful, and completely safe. Humans were the only ones who had befriended predators. "Perhaps we should start with presentations," Lisa suggested desperately. "I could explain human evolution and how we developed relationships with other Earth species." "Excellent idea," Zethra agreed. "Education enhances appreciation. Please, begin whenever you are ready." Lisa moved to the center of the observation area and activated her holographic display. Images of Earth appeared in the air, showing vast landscapes and diverse wildlife. "Humans evolved on a planet with many dangerous predators," she began. "Our ancestors had to be clever and adaptable to survive." The aliens leaned forward with interest. Pictures showed early humans using tools, making fire and working together in groups. Over thousands of years, humans learned to form partnerships with other species, Lisa continued. This helped both humans and animals survive in harsh environments. She showed images of early human settlements with domestic animals. The aliens seemed fascinated by the concept of mutual benefit between species. "Human companions serve many purposes," Lisa explained. "Some help with work, others provide protection, and many offer emotional support and friendship." "How large are these companions?" asked a young Zephyrian student. Lisa hesitated. "They vary in size. Some are small, like your moss gardens. Others are larger." "Larger?" Colthan's humming changed pitch with curiosity. "How much larger?" "Well," Lisa looked at Jake for help. He nodded encouragingly, though he looked pale. "Some human companions can weigh as much as a human adult, or more." A ripple of surprised chatter went through the alien audience. They seemed impressed that humans could care for companions almost their own size. "Fascinating," Zethra exclaimed. "Such dedication to companionship. Your species must be very nurturing." Lisa wanted to explain that Rex wasn't just large, but also powerful, fast, and equipped with natural weapons. But every time she tried to warn them, the aliens became more excited about meeting this amazing human companion. A chime sounded, indicating the scheduled start time. All eyes turned toward the entrance where Sergeant Alex Hayes would soon appear, with Rex. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored beings," announced the station's communication system. "Please welcome Sergeant Alex Hayes and his companion Rex for this historic cultural exchange." The aliens burst into applause, chirps, whistles, and harmonic songs. They were absolutely thrilled to finally meet a human pet. Jake closed his eyes and prayed that Rex would be on his best behavior. In a few moments, these excited aliens were going to get the surprise of their lives. The entrance doors slid open with a soft hiss. Sergeant Alex Hayes stepped into the observation chamber first, wearing his dress uniform and a confident smile. He was a tall man with broad shoulders and steady hands that had never shown fear in combat. Behind him, connected by a standard leash, came Rex. The German shepherd entered the room with the natural confidence of his breed. His thick coat was perfectly groomed, showing off the rich browns and blacks that marked him as a beautiful example of his species. His ears stood alert, and his amber eyes scanned the room with intelligent curiosity. His tail wagged slowly as he took in all the new sights and smells. For exactly 3 seconds, the chamber was completely silent. Then the screaming started. It began with a high-pitched whistle from one of the young Zephyrian students. The sound was pure terror, unlike anything the humans had ever heard. Within moments, the whistle became a chorus, as every Zephyrian in the room joined in. Their skin flashed from bright colors to pale white in the span of a heartbeat. The Vorthak. Delegation responded by producing the most discordant noise imaginable. Their usual beautiful harmonic songs became sharp, jarring alarms that hurt human ears. Resonance. Prime Kolthan's crystal body began flashing red warning lights as it backed away from the viewing barrier. Ambassador Veltar and the other Netherlings dispersed instantly into defensive formations. Their gas-like bodies spread thin and pressed against the far walls of the chamber. Some of the smaller Netherlings completely disappeared into the ventilation systems, but it was the reaction of the larger aliens that truly showed the depth of their terror. Ambassador Tocqueville, the massive turtle-like being whose species controlled vast territories, actually stumbled backward and fell into its seat. Its ancient eyes were wide with primal fear as it stared at Rex. "What is that creature?" Tocqueville bellowed, in a voice like rolling thunder. "Why have you brought a monster here?" Rex, completely unaware that he was causing panic, tilted his head curiously at all the noise. His tail continued wagging, and he looked up at Alex with an expression that clearly asked, "What's wrong with everyone?" "It's okay, boy," Alex said calmly, though his voice shook slightly. He had expected surprise, but not this level of terror. "These are our new friends." The word friends seemed to make things worse. Several aliens let out fresh waves of distress. Calls. The idea that humans considered them friends while bringing such a beast was apparently even more frightening. Counselor Zethra had pressed itself against the far wall, all 4 arms spread wide for balance. Its skin had gone completely white except for rapid pulses of red warning colors. When it spoke, its voice was barely a whisper. "Ambassador Murphy," it said, never taking its eyes off Rex. "What exactly is that creature?" Jake stepped forward, trying to maintain diplomatic calm while his heart pounded. "This is Rex, Sergeant Hayes's companion. He's a dog, a member of the canine species, one of humanity's oldest and most trusted allies." "Allies?" Kolthan's voice cracked like breaking glass. "You form military alliances with creatures like that?" "Not military alliances," Dr. Lisa Carter said quickly. "Friendship. Dogs have lived with humans for thousands of years. They're family members." This information did not help. If anything, the aliens looked more horrified. The concept that humans kept such creatures in their homes, around their children, was apparently beyond their understanding. Rex took a step forward, and the entire alien population stepped back. Some of the smaller beings actually hid behind larger ones. The young Zephyrian students who had been so excited earlier were now huddled in a corner making soft whimpering sounds. "He's harmless," Alex said, trying to demonstrate. "Rex, sit." Rex immediately sat down, his tail still wagging. His mouth opened in a happy pant, revealing a full set of white teeth designed for tearing meat. Several aliens made choking sounds. "Good boy," Alex said, reaching down to pat Rex's head. The dog leaned into the touch with obvious pleasure, showing the strong muscles in his neck and shoulders. Ambassador Mordak of the Silicon Collective was the first to find its voice. "Sergeant Hayes," it said in its mechanical tone, "what is the bite force of that creature?" Alex blinked in surprise. "Bite force? I don't know exactly. Maybe 300 pounds per square inch?" The number meant nothing to most humans, but the aliens had apparently done research on predator species. A wave of horrified gasps swept through the chamber. 300? Tocqueville repeated in disbelief. "That could crush most of our body structures." "But he would never do that," Alex protested. "Rex is gentle. He plays with human children." "Children?" Zethra's voice went up several octaves. "You expose your young to this predator?" "He protects children," Alex explained. "Dogs are loyal. They would die before letting harm come to their human families." The aliens exchanged looks of pure bewilderment. The concept of a predator protecting instead of hunting was apparently impossible for them to understand. Rex, growing bored with sitting still, stood up and shook himself. His collar jingled softly, and his fur rippled with the movement. The simple action sent several aliens diving for cover. "Perhaps," Jake said desperately, "we should explain more about Earth's evolution. Dogs aren't just predators. They're domesticated. They've been bred for thousands of generations to be companions." "Bred?" Colthon asked weakly. "You deliberately created these creatures?" "Not created," Lisa said quickly. "Domesticated. We took wild wolves, and over many generations, they became dogs. Smaller, gentler, more friendly." "Smaller?" Veltar's gaseous form quivered. "That monster is the smaller version?" Jake realized they had just made another mistake. The aliens now knew that Rex's ancestors were even larger and more dangerous. Rex yawned, showing his teeth again, and stretched. The stretch displayed the full length of his body and the power in his limbs. He was obviously relaxed and comfortable, but to the aliens, he looked like a predator preparing to attack. "Why does it bare its teeth?" whispered a young alien Jake didn't recognize. "He's not baring his teeth," Alex said. "He's yawning. He's tired." "Tired from hunting?" Tocqueville asked suspiciously. "No. Tired from playing fetch this morning. It's exercise." The concept of playing with such a creature seemed to confuse the aliens even more. They huddled together in small groups, whispering rapidly in their own languages. Rex noticed all the attention and wagged his tail harder. To him, a room full of new beings meant potential new friends. He took another step forward, his nose working to catch all the interesting smells. That single step triggered another wave of panic. Warning alarms began sounding throughout the chamber as various alien species activated their emergency protocols. "Station security to Observation Chamber 7, came an announcement over the communication system. "Please confirm status of containment procedures." Jake looked around at the terrified aliens and realized this demonstration had become a complete disaster, but there was no way to undo what had already happened. Every being in that chamber now knew that humans lived with creatures that could kill them without effort. Rex sat down again and tilted his head, obviously confused by all the excitement. His expression was so innocent and puzzled that it might have been cute if the audience hadn't been convinced they were looking at a monster. The situation went from bad to catastrophic in the space of a few heartbeats. Security Chief Maria Santos watched the security feeds in horror as emergency protocols activated throughout the station. Red warning lights flashed in every corridor. and automated announcements began broadcasting in 7 different languages. Attention all personnel. Code Yellow has been declared in Observation Chamber 7. All non-essential beings should maintain safe distance from the area. Code Yellow? Jake Murphy asked desperately into his communicator. What does that mean? Potential dangerous life form detected, Maria replied grimly. The station's automated. Systems are reacting to the aliens' panic signals. In the chamber, things were getting worse by the minute. Counselor Zethra had activated some kind of personal shield device that surrounded it with a shimmering energy field. Other aliens were doing the same, creating a rainbow of defensive barriers between themselves and Rex. Please, Alex Hayes said, his voice strained with growing frustration. He's just a dog. Look, I'll show you. Alex reached into his pocket and pulled out a small rubber ball. Rex's ears perked up immediately, and his tail wagged with excitement. To him, a ball meant fun and games. Rex, catch! Alex threw the ball gently across the demonstration area. What happened next would haunt Jake's nightmares for years. Rex moved with the fluid grace of a natural athlete. His powerful legs launched him across the space with speed that seemed impossible for such a large creature. His jaws opened wide, revealing those deadly teeth, and snapped shut on the ball with perfect precision. The sound of Rex's jaws closing was amplified by the chamber's audio systems. Every alien in the room heard the sharp click of teeth that could easily crush bone. They saw muscles ripple under his fur as he landed and turned back toward Alex with the ball in his mouth. "Good boy," Alex said proudly. "Drop it." Rex dropped the ball and sat down, his tongue hanging out in a happy grin. His mouth was open wide, showing teeth that gleamed white under the chamber's lights. The aliens were beyond terror now. They had just watched a massive predator demonstrate hunting, reflexes that could catch and kill prey in seconds, and the human was praising it for this display of deadly skill. "By the ancient crystals," Colthan whispered, its harmonic voice cracking with fear. "It follows hunting commands perfectly." "Those aren't hunting commands," Lisa Carter said desperately. "It's a game. Dogs play fetch for fun." "Fun?" Ambassador Tocqueville's massive head swung toward her. "Your species finds predator training entertaining?" "It's not predator training," Lisa protested. "It's exercise, mental stimulation. Dogs need activity to stay healthy." But her explanations were making everything worse. The aliens were now convinced that humans deliberately kept their companion predators in peak hunting condition. A new voice joined the conversation. "Security teams are mobilizing," announced Station Commander Zareth over the communication system. The commander was a member of a species Jake had never met, but its authority was absolute on the station. "Is containment holding?" Zareth asked. Jake looked at the transparent aluminum barriers that separated the demonstration area from the viewing section. They were strong enough to stop a small spacecraft, but the aliens were treating them like paper walls. "Containment is secure," Jake replied. "There's no danger." "No danger?" Zethra's skin flashed angry red. "That creature could break through these barriers if it chose to attack." "Rex would never attack anyone," Alex said firmly. "He's trained to protect, not harm." The word "trained" sent another wave of panic through the aliens. They were imagining human military units composed of creatures like Rex, bred and trained for warfare. "How many of these battle beasts do humans possess?" demanded a voice from the back of the chamber. Jake couldn't see who was speaking through. "All the defensive barriers and panicked aliens? They're not battle beasts," Jake shouted, losing his diplomatic composure. "They're pets, family members. They sleep on our beds and play with our children." This information was received with horrified silence. The idea that humans slept beside such predators, that they allowed them near defenseless young, was apparently the most terrifying thing the aliens had heard yet. Rex, meanwhile, was becoming confused by all the negative energy in the room. Dogs were social creatures who fed off human emotions. He could sense fear and distress, but he didn't understand why everyone was upset. He whined softly, a sound that would have been heartbreaking to any human. To the aliens, it sounded like the hunting call of a frustrated predator. "It's communicating," whispered one of the young Zephyrian students. "Coordinating an attack pattern." "He's not communicating anything," Alex said in exasperation. "He's confused. Dogs whine when they're worried or want attention." Attention-seeking behavior in apex predators, Mordak observed in its mechanical voice. "Highly intelligent tactical approach." Alex knelt down beside Rex and scratched behind his ears. The big dog leaned into the touch and closed his eyes with obvious pleasure. His tail thumped against the floor in a steady rhythm. "See?" Alex said. "He just wants affection. Dogs are emotional creatures. They need love and attention to be happy." But the aliens were focusing on different details. They saw a human's hands mere inches from jaws that could remove them in one bite. They saw a predator that was completely relaxed while being touched, which suggested either perfect trust or perfect hunting patience. "The creature allows physical contact," Tocqueville noted with something like awe. "Either it is supremely confident in its dominance or—" "Or what?" Jake asked, dreading the answer. "Or humans are so dangerous that even apex predators submit to them willingly." The observation hit the chamber like a physical blow. Suddenly, every alien was looking at the humans with new eyes. They had been so focused on Rex that they hadn't considered what it meant for humans to command such creatures. "How did your species achieve dominance over such beasts?" Colthon asked, its voice barely audible. "We didn't achieve dominance," Lisa said quickly. "It's a partnership. Mutual benefit. Humans provide food and shelter. Dogs provide companionship and protection." "Protection from what?" Zethra asked in a small voice. Lisa realized too late that she was digging a deeper hole. "From other dangerous creatures on Earth." "Other creatures more dangerous than that?" Veltar's gaseous form rippled with terror. Jake closed his eyes and wished he could start this entire day over. Everything they said to calm the aliens down just made them more frightened. How could they explain that Earth was a world where creatures like Rex were common? That humans had evolved alongside predators and learned to not just survive, but thrive? Rex stood up and stretched again, then walked over to the ball Alex had thrown. He picked it up gently in his mouth and brought it back, dropping it at Alex's feet and sitting expectantly. "He wants to play again," Alex said weakly. The aliens watched in fascinated horror as the monster performed this simple act of trained obedience. To them, it looked like a perfect demonstration of human control over a deadly weapon. Station alarms continued wailing in the background, adding to the surreal atmosphere. Jake realized that this single demonstration had fundamentally changed how these 7 species viewed humanity. They were no longer seen as a peaceful new addition to the galactic community. They were now viewed as a species so dangerous that they kept apex predators as household pets. And the worst part was Jake was beginning to realize the aliens might not be entirely wrong. Dr. Lisa Carter watched the alien delegates huddled behind their energy shields and felt a sinking sensation in her stomach. She could almost see the wheels turning in their minds as they processed what they had witnessed. They weren't just afraid of Rex anymore. They were beginning to understand the implications of what humans represented. Ambassador Murphy, Counselor Zethra called out from behind its shimmering barrier. Its voice was carefully controlled, but Lisa could hear the tremor underneath. We require immediate clarification on several matters. Jake straightened his diplomatic uniform and tried to project calm authority. Of course, Counselor. What would you like to know? This creature. Zethra gestured carefully toward Rex, who was now lying down with his head resting on his paws. You claim it is a typical human companion? Well, typical might be strong, Jake hedged. Dogs are common, but there are many different breeds and sizes. The word breeds sent another ripple of unease through the chamber. Resonance Prime. Colthan's crystal body flickered with rapid light patterns that Lisa recognized as distress signals. You have multiple varieties of these predators? Colthan asked, its harmonic voice tight with fear. They're not all predators, Lisa said quickly. Some dogs are very small. Lapdogs, we call them. They're bred for companionship, not hunting. But this one, Ambassador Tocqueville rumbled, its massive form still pressed against the far wall. This one is bred for hunting? Alex Hayes shifted uncomfortably. German shepherds were originally bred for herding sheep. They're working dogs, very intelligent and trainable. Herding, Mordak repeated in its mechanical voice. You use these creatures to control other animals? 2. Help manage livestock, Alex explained. They guide sheep and cattle, keep them safe from predators. The chamber fell silent as the aliens processed this information. Lisa watched their faces change as they began to understand the full scope of human-animal relationships. You use predators? Veltar said slowly, its gaseous form rippling with agitation. To protect prey animals from other predators? Dogs aren't predators in the same sense, Lisa tried to explain. They've been domesticated for thousands of years. Their hunting instincts have been redirected toward cooperation with humans. Redirected, Zethra repeated. Not eliminated. Modified. The distinction was clearly terrifying to the aliens. They were realizing that humans hadn't simply tamed these creatures, but had carefully shaped their behavior while preserving their deadly capabilities. A young Zephyrian student raised one trembling arm. Dr. Carter. What other Earth animals? Do humans keep as companions? Lisa felt her heart stop. She had been dreading this question. Well, there are cats? Cats? Several voices asked in unison. Smaller than dogs, usually. Very independent. Good at controlling pest populations. Pest populations? Colthan's harmonics cracked again. They hunt for humans? They hunt mice and rats, Lisa admitted reluctantly. Small rodents that damage human food supplies. She could see the aliens doing rapid calculations. If humans kept large predators, like Rex for protection and smaller predators for hunting pests, what did that say about human society? Are there others? Tocqueville asked, in a voice like distant thunder. Lisa looked desperately at Jake, who nodded for her to continue. There was no point in hiding the truth now. Horses, she said quietly, for transportation and work. Birds for companionship and sometimes hunting. Fish for decoration and food. Rabbits, guinea pigs, hamsters for companionship. Hunting birds? Zethra's skin had gone completely white. Flying predators under human control? Falconry is an ancient human practice, Alex said, trying to sound proud instead of apologetic. It requires great skill and patience. The aliens were no longer just afraid. They were beginning to look at the humans with something approaching awe and terror combined. The scope of human dominance over Earth's ecosystem was becoming clear. To them, "How many species," Mordak asked with mechanical precision, "have humans brought under their control?" Lisa checked her tablet, though she already knew the answer would be devastating. "Domestic animals number in the dozens of species, but humans have also formed working relationships with hundreds of others." "Working relationships?" Veltar asked, weakly. "Dolphins help with fishing and rescue operations. Some birds assist with hunting. Elephants help with construction. Camels provide transportation in deserts." Each example hit the alien delegation like a physical blow. They were beginning to understand that humans hadn't just survived on their dangerous planet. They had systematically recruited allies from every corner of their ecosystem. A new voice spoke up from the back of the chamber. "What about the dangerous creatures? The ones too powerful to control?" Lisa felt sick as she realized where this was leading. "Humans have learned to coexist with most dangerous species. We study them, protect their habitats, and maintain respectful distances." "Most?" Tocqueville caught the qualification immediately. "Some species have been eliminated," Lisa admitted, "when they posed too great a threat to human populations." The chamber erupted in shocked chittering and harmonic discord. The idea that humans had actually driven entire species to extinction was beyond the aliens' comprehension. "You destroyed apex predators?" Zethra asked in horror. "Only when necessary for survival," Jake said defensively, "and we deeply regret those losses. Modern humans work very hard to protect endangered species." But the damage was done. The aliens now understood that humans were capable of eliminating threats that they couldn't control or recruit as allies. Rex chose that moment to yawn and roll onto his side, exposing his belly in a gesture of complete trust and relaxation. To humans, it was an adorable display of contentment. To the aliens, it looked like a killing machine so confident in its dominance that it could afford to appear vulnerable. "The creature shows no fear," observed a delegate Lisa hadn't met. "It knows it is protected by its human pack." "Pack?" Jake asked, though he suspected he knew where this was leading. "Humans hunt in groups, yes?" Zethra asked. "Coordinate attacks with their creature allies?" "We don't hunt," Lisa protested. "Modern humans buy food from stores." "But you could hunt," Colthon said with certainty, "if circumstances required it." Lisa looked around the chamber at the terrified alien faces and realized there was no good answer to that question. Humans had retained all their ancestral capabilities, even if they rarely used them. "We prefer not to," she said finally. The careful phrasing was not lost on the aliens. They understood that humans were choosing to be peaceful, not that they were incapable of violence. "Your species," Tocqueville said slowly, "survived by forming alliances with dangerous creatures, eliminating threats too powerful to control, and maintaining the ability to hunt as apex predators." "That's an oversimplification," Jake said weakly. "Is it incorrect?" Tocqueville pressed. Jake opened his mouth to argue, but no words came. When viewed from an alien perspective, human history really did look like the rise of a supremely dangerous species. Rex stretched, stood up, and walked over to Alex for more attention. His movement was fluid and powerful, reminding everyone present of exactly what humans had chosen to make into friends. The aliens watched this display of casual affection between human and predator, and Lisa could see a terrible understanding growing in their eyes. They weren't just sharing the galaxy with another intelligent species. They were dealing with beings who had conquered an entire planet by befriending its most dangerous inhabitants. Ambassador Jake Murphy felt the weight of galactic diplomacy crashing down on his shoulders. The observation chamber had become deadly quiet, except for the soft hum of energy barriers and Rex's contented panting. 7 different species were staring at the human delegation with expressions ranging from terror to fascination to what looked like grudging respect. "I think," Jake said carefully, "we need to have a more detailed conversation about human culture and history." "Yes," agreed Counselor Zethra, though its skin remained pale with stress. "Perhaps we should adjourn to a more secure location." The suggestion that they needed security from a friendly dog demonstration was not lost on anyone. Jake nodded and gestured to Alex, who gently led Rex toward the exit. Several aliens flinched as the dog passed their barriers, even though he was moving away from them. 20 minutes later, they reconvened in the station's main diplomatic conference room. This chamber had been designed for serious negotiations, with multiple security systems and communication arrays. Rex had been returned to the human quarters. Much to everyone's relief, the seating arrangement told its own story. The alien delegates had positioned themselves much farther from the humans than during their first meeting. Energy barriers hummed softly around several seats, and Jake noticed that all the exits were clearly marked and unobstructed. "Before we continue," Station Commander Zareth announced over the communication system, "I must note that this conversation is being recorded for diplomatic archives. All parties have been advised of their rights under Galactic Mediation Protocol 7. Jake's heart sank. Protocol 7 was used for negotiations between potentially hostile species. They had gone from friendly cultural exchange to formal diplomatic crisis in the span of a few hours. "Commander Zareth," Jake said formally, "humanity wishes to clarify any misunderstandings that may have occurred during today's demonstration." "Misunderstandings?" Resonance Prime Colthan's harmonic voice carried clear skepticism. "Ambassador Murphy, we believe we understand quite clearly. The question is what humanity intends to do with their capabilities." Dr. Lisa Carter leaned forward with her tablet ready. "Perhaps I can provide some context about human evolution and our relationship with Earth's ecosystem." "Please do," rumbled Ambassador Tocqueville. "We are most interested in how your species achieved such dominance." Lisa activated her holographic display, showing images of early Earth. "Humans evolved as social hunters on a planet with many dangerous predators. Our ancestors survived through cooperation, tool use, and adaptability. The aliens watched images of primitive humans working together to hunt large animals. Jake noticed they paid particular attention to scenes showing coordinated group tactics. Early, humans learned that some animals could be allies rather than enemies," Lisa continued. "The first dogs were wolves that chose to work with human hunting parties." "Chose?" Zethra asked. "The predators volunteered?" "In a sense, yes. Wolves that cooperated with humans had better access to food and protection. Over many generations, this partnership evolved into the domestic dog. More images showed the gradual domestication process. Aliens chittered nervously as they saw how humans had systematically bred wolves into hundreds of different dog varieties. This process was repeated with many species," Lisa explained. "Cats, horses, cattle, sheep, pigs. Humans developed agriculture and animal husbandry simultaneously." "Animal husbandry?" Mordak's mechanical voice requested clarification. "The practice of breeding animals for specific traits. Size, strength, intelligence, docility, or specialized abilities. The chamber fell silent as the aliens absorbed this information. They were realizing that humans hadn't just tamed individual animals, but had actively shaped entire species to serve human purposes. How many generations does this process require? Asked a delegate Jake didn't recognize. It varies, Lisa admitted. Sometimes as few as 10 generations for simple traits. More complex modifications might take hundreds of generations. You have been doing this for how long? Veltar's gaseous form rippled with agitation. Approximately 15,000 years for dogs. 10,000 years for agriculture and livestock. Jake watched the aliens exchange glances and realized they were doing rapid calculations. A species that had been systematically modifying other life forms for 15 millennia was operating on a completely different time scale than their own development. During this time, Tocqueville asked slowly, did humans face resistance from other apex predators? Lisa hesitated before answering. Some species were eliminated when they posed too great a threat. Others were driven to remote areas. A few were preserved in protected reserves. Eliminated how? Hunting, habitat modification, sometimes systematic campaigns to reduce dangerous populations. The aliens were beginning to understand the full scope of human environmental control. They saw a species that had not just adapted to their world, but had actively reshaped it to suit their needs. Captain Ryan Torres spoke up for the first time. I think you're getting the wrong impression. Humans aren't conquerors. We're partners with our animals. Look at Rex. He's not a slave or a weapon. He's family. Family, Zethra repeated. You consider predators to be family members? Dogs have been human companions for longer than recorded history, Torres explained. They share our homes, protect our children, and provide emotional support. The relationship is built on love and trust. Love. Colthan's harmonics shifted to confused tones. You form emotional bonds with creatures capable of killing you? They're not going to kill us, Torres said with exasperation. Dogs are loyal. They would die protecting their human families. But the aliens were focusing on different implications. If humans could inspire such loyalty in apex predators, what did that say about human social capabilities? Ambassador Murphy, Zethra said formally, what are humanity's intentions regarding galactic expansion? The question hit Jake like a physical blow. They were asking if humans planned to do to alien species what they had done to Earth's animals. Humanity seeks peaceful cooperation and mutual benefit, Jake replied carefully. We have no desire to dominate or control other species. But you have the capability, Tocqueville observed. Your species has demonstrated the ability to modify other life forms to serve your purposes. Only willing partners, Lisa said quickly. Modern humans would never force domestication on an unwilling species. Modern humans, Mordak noted, implying that historical humans might have acted differently. Jake realized they were walking into a diplomatic minefield. Every clarification seemed to make humans sound more dangerous, not less. All species have violent histories, Jake said defensively. Humans have evolved beyond our primitive past. Have you? Zethra asked bluntly. Or have you simply chosen to direct your capabilities toward peaceful purposes? The question hung in the air like a sword. Jake understood that his answer would determine humanity's future relationship with the galactic community. Both, he said finally, Humans retain the capabilities that allowed us to survive, but we have chosen to use them for construction rather than destruction. Chosen, Veltar emphasized, meaning you could choose differently if circumstances changed. Jake looked around the chamber at the alien faces watching him intently. They wanted honesty, but honesty might destroy any chance of peaceful relations. Yes, he said quietly. If forced to defend ourselves or our allies, humans would use whatever capabilities were necessary. The admission settled over the chamber, like a heavy blanket. The aliens now understood exactly what they were dealing with, a species powerful enough to reshape planets, wise enough to choose peace, but dangerous enough to defend themselves if threatened. The question was whether that knowledge would lead to respect or fear. 3 hours later, the diplomatic conference room had transformed from a place of fear into something approaching mutual understanding. The energy barriers were still active, but they hummed more quietly now. The alien delegates had stopped clustering. At the far edges of the room, though they still maintained careful distances from the human delegation. Ambassador Jake Murphy watched Counselor Zethra's skin slowly shift from pale stress colors to more natural hues. The Zephyrian had been asking detailed questions about human history for the past hour, and each answer seemed to both terrify and fascinate the alien council. "Let me ensure I understand correctly," Zethra said, referring to notes displayed on a holographic tablet. Humans evolved alongside multiple apex predator species, learned to form alliances with some, eliminated threats from others, and systematically modified dozens of species to serve as partners in survival. That's a very clinical way to put it, Dr. Lisa Carter replied, but essentially accurate. And this process, Resonance Prime Colton added, its crystal body flickering with thoughtful patterns, required humans to become apex predators themselves. "Humans are persistence hunters," Lisa confirmed. "We're not the fastest or strongest predators, but we're extremely adaptable, and we never give up." Ambassador Tocqueville shifted its massive bulk, and Jake noticed the ancient being no longer seemed quite as afraid. "Your species succeeded through intelligence, cooperation, and determination rather than raw physical power." "Exactly," Captain Torres said with obvious relief. "We're not monsters. We're problem solvers who learn to work with nature instead of against it." But Mordak of the Silicon Collective raised an important point. Yet the result was complete planetary dominance. No other Earth species can challenge human authority. "Because we don't rule through fear," Lisa explained. "We rule through partnership. Our animals choose to work with us because it benefits both species." "Like Rex?" added a new voice from the doorway. Sergeant Alex Hayes had returned, though this time without his four-legged companion. "He stays with me because he wants to, not because he has to." The aliens turned to study Alex with new interest. They were beginning to understand that the bond between human and dog represented something unique in their galactic experience. "Sergeant Hayes," Zethra said carefully, "could you explain the emotional aspects of your relationship with your companion?" Alex looked surprised by the question. "Rex? He's my best friend, has been for 8 years. He knows when I'm sad, celebrates when I'm happy, and would protect me with his life." "And you would protect him with yours?" Veltar asked, its gaseous form rippling with curiosity. "Without question," Alex replied immediately. "He's family." The concept seemed to resonate with the aliens in a way that surprised Jake. Several delegates exchanged rapid comments in their own languages. This emotional bond, Kolthan observed, creates loyalty that cannot be broken by force or circumstance. That's right, Alex said. Dogs don't follow humans because they're afraid of us. They follow because they love us. Ambassador Tocqueville leaned forward with interest. And humans reciprocate this emotional attachment? Of course, losing a dog is like losing a family member. Humans mourn their pets, celebrate their achievements, and build their lives around caring for them. Jake watched the alien expressions change as they processed this information. They were beginning to understand that human relationships with animals weren't based on domination, but on genuine mutual affection. This explains much about human psychology, Mordak noted. A species that forms emotional bonds with former predators would naturally extend similar bonds to other intelligent beings. Are you saying, Dr. Carter asked hopefully, that you're beginning to understand human intentions? Zethra's skin shifted to what Jake had learned were contemplative colors. We are beginning to understand that humans represent something unprecedented in galactic history. Unprecedented how? Jake asked nervously. Most species achieve interstellar capability through technological advancement alone, Tocqueville explained. They develop tools and machines to overcome the challenges of their environment. Humans developed both technology and biological partnerships, Kolthan added. You brought allies with you to the stars. Jake realized they were talking about Rex and the other animals that humans had carried into space. Every human colony ship included genetic samples and breeding populations of Earth animals. We couldn't imagine leaving our companions behind, Captain Torres said simply. They're part of what makes us human. And this, Veltar said with what sounded like wonder, is why your species is so formidable. You don't just have technology. You have an entire ecosystem of allies. The observation hung in the air as everyone processed its implications. Humans hadn't just survived their dangerous homeworld, they had recruited that danger to work alongside them. What does this mean for galactic relations? Jake asked, though he wasn't sure he wanted to know the answer. Zethra looked around at the other delegates before responding. It means that humanity represents both the greatest opportunity and the greatest risk our community has ever encountered. Risk? Torres asked defensively. A species capable of inspiring loyalty in apex. Predators, Tocqueville rumbled, is a species capable of inspiring loyalty in anyone. If humans chose conquest over cooperation, few could resist them. But we don't choose conquest, Jake protested. No, Zethra agreed, and that is the opportunity. A species with your capabilities who chooses partnership over domination could help solve problems that have plagued the galaxy for millennia. Jake felt a glimmer of hope. Are you saying humanity could still join the galactic community? We are saying, Kolthan's harmonics shifted to what Jake hoped were positive tones, that humanity must join the galactic community. The question is whether you will join as partners or as something else. Partners, Jake said immediately. Always partners. Then we have much to discuss, Zethra replied. Beginning with proper protocols for introducing human companions to other species. A ripple of what might have been laughter went through the alien delegation. Even in the middle of serious diplomatic negotiations, they couldn't forget the sight of Rex terrifying an entire space station. Perhaps, Dr. Carter suggested, we should start with smaller companions next time. Cats, maybe. Cats? Several, aliens asked with obvious concern. Much smaller than dogs. Lisa assured them. Though they are excellent hunters. The aliens exchanged worried glances, and Jake realized they had a long way to go before the galactic community would be comfortable with human companions. 6 months later, Jake stood in the observation chamber of a different space station, watching Alex demonstrate basic dog training to a group of young alien students. Rex sat patiently as small beings approached him with wonder rather than terror. The galaxy had adapted to humanity's unique nature, and humanity had learned to introduce their companions more carefully. Trade agreements were being signed, research, partnerships established, and cultural exchanges planned. But Jake knew that every alien in the galaxy would never forget what they had learned that day. Humanity was a species that had turned predators into family, danger into loyalty, and chaos into order. They were partners now, but they were partners who commanded respect. Rex yawned, stretched, and rolled over for belly rubs from his new alien friends. And in that simple gesture, Jake saw the future of human galactic relations, built on trust, maintained through understanding, and strengthened by the knowledge that some bonds could never be broken. The humans had brought their best, friends to the stars, and the galaxy was learning to love them too.